All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we are back for another trading and chart stream. Today's going to be an interesting one. We do have some things going on. Obviously, I did look at the majority of Bitcoin on Friday. Obviously, if you were there, it was a great stream with KB. We did look at Bitcoin on Friday, and we were kind of talking about this being a slight turning point, whether this be a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously, in opinions, obviously, none of this is financial advice, whether this be a good print on the weekly or a bad print on the weekly. Now, I'm not too hopeful. I'm obviously going to go through it as we go through the charts in a minute. But my outlook on Bitcoin isn't the greatest. There is chance we can recover, but I am more leaning towards a bit more of a negative for Bitcoin, unless obviously I can be wrong, obviously not financial advice, but anyway, hopefully you are all doing well. Let me bring up the chat and I can have a little look at who's in here with us today. Kishan, shout out to you, Kishan, always being here, always the first comment. Yeah, obviously there's a few occasions when he's not, but he's always the first comment, so shout out to you, Kishan. Shout out to you as well for obviously talking with your friends as well, so appreciate each and every one of you for joining as well. Tariq, shout out to you. Hossein, I hope that is, or I don't think it's a K. I'll pronounce it as a K, so hopefully so. Hossein, hello to you as well. KB, Lana Parfi, scroll a bit more down. Mike's here as well, saying good morning. Danny's here, so shout out to you all. Appreciate you all being here. But yeah, like I said, I'm not the most positive on Bitcoin today, I drink some water as well, my voice is kind of messed up. I'm not the greatest, if you want to go for a stream where you want to see positivity for Bitcoin, it's probably not it. I'm not the greatest, positive person right now. But anyway, whatever. 835 for Bitcoin. So not bad. We did dip below my support point, and this is why I'm negative. So my kind of main point was my mouse battery is dying apparently. Hopefully it doesn't die during the stream. Anyway, it's about 83.2. My nose is bunged. I'm sorry. I think I'm very nasally. I don't have any tissue to put my nose with, but whatever. 83.2 was kind of my main area. I had 83.1 as well, so that kind of 83.2, 83.1, or I think it's 83.270, the exact price. It was kind of that area. We did dip below that, and on my ranges, there's no support there, so we kind of came below, and then we found resistance again at that hour. Obviously, you know what? We'll go on to this in the chat. I always do this. I've made a New Year's resolution to not do this. I'm gonna just do the percentages first, and then we can get on to the actual charts. 83,588. Okay, boom. 7.7% up on the 1 hour. Obviously, that was like 7 minutes ago, so it doesn't really matter. 0.8 on 24 hours again. That spread is not very good. Not really much going on, and then 5% down 7 day. So yeah, pretty a negative across the board. Obviously, if you look at the charts, you'll know. Anyway, Ethereum 1850 basically, 1846. Not very good. Again, we're seeing heavy lows. Pretty heavy lows. And again, this isn't the max low we saw. We were actually kind of recovering a bit. Obviously not at great speeds, but still nonetheless. 1.15 percent up on the 1 hour. 1.7 24 hours. So the spreads in between the hour and the 24 hour are pretty similar. So again, we are seeing a slight cusp upwards as of late, but again, within Monday. It's not enough to recover what we've come down over the weekend and whatever we've done. In terms of having that arc downwards and an 11% down 7 day. Yeah, so pretty heavy fall for Ethereum. And again, with Ethereum over the the latest anyway, it's definitely been a chart I have looked at and seen the most negativity in terms of being below certain specific resistance areas and equilibriums and not holding support as much. Obviously, if you've been looking at any of my streams where I've looked at Ethereum, you'll hopefully kind of gauge my opinions on Ethereum, and obviously I have voiced them quite clearly. Hopefully, that we are as opposed to Bitcoin and maybe Solana as well, depending on the way you look at it. It is definitely one of the worser coins in terms of support areas and just holding on to actually good areas, and then also flipping that to the outlook of outcome. Having the ease of getting back upwards towards higher prices for Ethereum. If we have so much more resistance areas, it's going to take a lot more different areas to get us up to back towards the different areas we were at before all this dump. So yeah, my outlook on Ethereum, not only but for today with the dump and kind of recovery we're trying to have now, is not going to be good kind of across the board. So no difference there. And Solana 127. Again, this is the price we've seen numerous times. If you look at the 7 day, I'm kind of referencing my my thoughts because obviously I don't have the whole chart up exactly in front of me, but I'm kind of voicing my opinions also pretty much on this movement. You can't see my mouse. Oh, you can't see my mouse. What the hell? Oh, I thought you guys could see my mouse. Anyway, whatever. So the chart on the right hand side, yeah, I also like to kind of gauge the movements we've had. And again, this is kind of showing we've been sitting in an area for quite a while. Obviously, we were doing all right, but we've not really moved. Well, we have moved. We've obviously come down, but as in, we haven't got anywhere. And 127 has been a really common price we've seen for Solana. Again, it's one of the equilibriums we've had for a long time now, and one of the prices we've been sitting at for a long time now, like I just said. 0.8% up on the 24-hour, 1.9 on the or the 1 hour, sorry, 0.88, and 24-hour 1.9. So it's all right, but again, it's nothing to recover what we've done over the last. I don't know the exact time frame in between when we were coming down. I know we were coming up still, and then we were coming down. So basically, over the weekend, let's just say, having this movement downwards. So pretty much 11% down on these 7 days. So again, nothing really positive right now. It's kind of we're in the midst of this move down. Now I do believe there is something. I didn't manage to get a screenshot or paste a link. You know what? I might be able to go do it now before we get onto the actual charts. Something a fundamental thing to look at. I don't know if I can. You know what? Maybe where is it? Maybe TradingView might have it on this. Something big was going on. It doesn't matter. Whatever. We'll just look at the charts. This is a chat stream, so we're just gonna look at the charts. So I have it on the 4 hour here. I have Bitcoin on the 4 hour. This is one of the wider ranges, but this is a very important range. I'll go on to the daily here. Now, actually, I got on the 4 hour to kind of show the actual movement we've had. So this is kind of my area. So this is my first area, which is about 83, 250 actually, 260, 270, in that area. And obviously my thing was, okay, if we hold this and we print above it and we continue to do good in here, basically I'm on the 3 hour for. You know what? I'll give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna try and find something to blow my nose because it's messing up my voice. Okay, that should be better now. I think I'm better now. Anyway, yeah, so my main point obviously was this was the first in 2 areas I had. Anyway, again, the areas were 83, obviously 270 and 83.1. Quite a close area, not really much difference. Obviously, we do have we have kind of 2 main areas we're looking at. We have one for the higher ranges, or the higher time frames, higher range, and then this one, which is kind of giving a step-by-step movement. Now, again, it might look quite drastic, or we're moving up and down this high and low area so fast. What's going on? Why is this a good area? Well, it is actually a good area. You can see these nice usages of the equilibriums, but it's also quite it's also fundamental. Not only is it fast, but it's also fundamental, because you can see in this one in particular, we never actually came back to the purple line, and obviously we had our different difficulties at equilibrium and finding support. Obviously, we had different support areas, and we had a fair value gap here, and different areas within here which kept us going upwards. And then we started to slow down here, where we didn't actually have that propulsion to bring us back up towards equilibrium, try and break up, and then we had difficulty, and then we dumped. And then obviously in this case, we did flip equilibrium, because again, remember, we didn't actually touch purple line. So we didn't really, we weren't really realistically going to hold that low point, because we didn't actually confirm to be above this low point, so we kind of dumped this really fast, and then obviously we flipped it, fair value gap came down, equilibrium, but also the important part about this was also we came back to purple line. So I think personally we are in this range 85 to 78, but again, that's not the limit for me. That 78 isn't the limit for me. I have a lot lower in different areas. Looking at equilibrium as well for this move down, we have had a nice bounce. Again, this equilibrium, I think I showed it on Friday stream. Actually, I didn't show it on the morning. I think I hopefully showed this. This is a very important range. I hopefully showed this on the Friday stream with KB. It was a very good stream, by the way. So if you haven't watched that, I would advise you guys, if you want to anyway, go and watch it back, because I think it was a very good stream. Basically, what we do is we looked at Bitcoin, but I looked at Bitcoin and obviously my chart, and we looked at KB's chart and his opinions. And we kind of went back and forward with that. So it was I think it was a very good stream. For if you wanted to see obviously 2 different opinions, because no one really does that, see 2 different opinions and 2 different charts at the same time, or roughly the same time, and see that. So a really good stream. So I appreciate KB for coming on again as well. But anyway, this is a very good range. Again, we had this equilibrium at 82, obviously bounced off that, came up. I think this was, because again, we have this this void here. I think we had resistance back here. Where was it again? I think it's on a different range. What range am I on now? I think if I go to here, we'll see this bounce here. If we wait for it to load. There we go. Yeah, so we have this midpoint bounce here, and then obviously we came down back to the outer rim of the equilibrium. I believe there's a print at the outer rim is about 81.5. So in terms of using the equilibriums, we're doing really well on this low end. Yeah, here it is. So we have this inner equilibrium, and then we have these two out here, the 41 and 59 for this outer rim equilibrium. And obviously we've bounced, and now we're coming up, and we've surpassed this 59, and now we're coming back, and we've hit this midpoint, which I think the 71 is the midpoint of the higher range, and then we have this midpoint. These are going to be resistance areas as well, which we are now wicking offwards. But importantly, this isn't the reason why we're wicking. The reason why we're wicking is because of this, or I believe anyway. Not because of we have this midpoint of the liquidity void area, but it's also because we have the equilibrium which we're wicking off. And again, this is a very high range, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a bit more creep back towards 80, 84, whatever. But again, I'm not too hopeful on that. And obviously, I'm still talking about it. But anyway, so instead of applying the bounce to the liquidity void, which it isn't, it was the only logical thing in that range I just showed. But realistically, the bounce was because of this equilibrium point here at 83 to basically 83.270, which was one of my prices of importance because of this range. And again, I did have the lower range I just was showing with that equilibrium and all those bounces. Yeah, these bounces are beautiful, but again, this is a very low range, and this isn't going to orchestrate our price movements over a couple days. This is going to be a quite quick process to because again, we already have hit the midpoint of equilibrium and then hit the resistance on the higher range, and then we came back to the outer rim of the equilibrium, and now we're coming up again. We are doing a higher high in this case, so again, it wouldn't look too bad, but again, we aren't out of the woodworks if we can't stay above 83.390. But now I'm going to show something a bit worse, the weekly, which is where this is realistically being used. This was what I looked at on Friday as well. This was one of my things. I think I was emphasizing quite. Hopefully came across. I think I said quite a bit about this bounce, and basically on the weekly, when you look at the weeklies and look at if you look at big movements on the lower time frames, it might look pretty bad, but then if you go to the weekly, you might see something or some reason, obviously in your own methods and in your own ways when you trade the charts. But obviously, in my opinion, obviously the weekly I think helps in this case. Obviously, you can see right here, helps kind of slow the process down and just kind of take yourself out of the situation and really just look at what's going on the grand scheme of things. And we can see, I pinched my hair. We can see. We came below this. We obviously printed this gap here. Obviously, we have this massive displacement candle with this gap. But no. Well, to be fair, we did actually come to the midpoint of that on the wick. But in terms of here, was where our print would be for this gap. And obviously, we printed there. And then we came up. And then we come to the midpoint of the equilibrium at 88,650, which is, if we remember, the lower range was also this equilibrium here, where we had those bounces and whatever I just showed like 2 minutes ago. Wicked off that, obviously during this process we came up and then had this kind of pretty much nice diagonal right up to it, and then we came down, and then obviously this is the candle, this is the latter end of the week, basically of the weekend-ish I think it was, and obviously within Friday of us coming down to here. And my important thing was basically obviously because this bounce wasn't due to, obviously we bounced off 83,270 or whatever it was, this was obviously within these gaps back here, and mainly this gap for the print as well. So this was kind of our bounce area where we have this massive candle which we wicked into and then came back upwards from. Obviously this kind of helped us to get back upwards, have a second chance back up to equilibrium and get back above all the way towards 90, 93k, 90 whatever onwards, 100 back up to 104k. However, we didn't manage to do that. Obviously we've hit off this 88k. Now if we looked on the lower time frames and looked at the lower range, obviously we looked at the reasons why we kept on going back upwards. We had the fair value gap, we had the other inter gap hippo basically, which gave us support as well, which is obviously each bounce was doing that. Obviously we did have the trend line, so if you looked at bull flags, obviously you would see that. But again, for me, it was more so, it wasn't much of a bull flag, it was also us just trying to get above equilibrium, which we couldn't do because of the fact we just didn't have that enough momentum as we continued onwards, which obviously makes sense. If you hit off a price a few times, the momentum isn't really going to be there unless you have some sort of massive thing below you, which gives you that momentum. If you just keep on hitting off the same price over and over again, it kind of orchestrates the idea that we're not really getting above this price. If we're not changing, or even worse, if we're starting to see a decrement in our max high we see after every pump, obviously kind of orchestrates the idea that we're realistically not going to get above this price. But anyway, that happened, obviously, that was there. And now we're coming back down again. And we don't have this anymore. Obviously, we've used this. We might have something within here on the lower end, but realistically, the next stop here is 72.6. On the higher time frame, again, this is a higher time frame. On the lower time frames, we'll have support resistance on the way down. We have 78k. We don't. It's not saying we're out. We're fine. But if you just realistically look at the weekly and the higher time frame and look at what we have, it doesn't look amazing. Now, again, I was holding on to hope on Friday. I was saying, okay, well, I think if we can hold this 83.2, if we can hold these equilibriums, I do think we can come back upwards. I do think we can do well and find support and then reverse. Because again, remember on within this movement, basically, we were having higher highs and higher lows. But again, over the higher time frames, we weren't really having this. So. Again, we did do a lower low here, or within, respectfully within this area anyway. We did do a lower low, so we're still in this period. And again, the high, if you do it candle by candle basis, is within this 96, 95k area. So, it's going to take a lot for us on the weekly anyway. Again, this is some really high time frame kind of conceptual thinking of the price action. Is a very hard thing to do to get back up towards these 86k. So even if you've got towards 83k. I wouldn't even think we're out of the woodworks yet because we still have to get back above into this top range for me personally, which is 84k towards 83.8. So again, we would have to get up to that area and do that. I think I need to sneeze. I need to drink some water. Hold on. I read the chat as well. Actually, I see some people talking, so I want to see what people are saying. Also, actually, as well, if you're someone who looks at the charts and has some opinions, more than welcome. Jason's here. Shout out to Jason as well. Actually, I've been seeing your charts, man. I do want to hear about your guys' opinions as well, because again, this isn't just a one-way stream. This is we stream for a reason. If I didn't want to hear from you guys, and I absolutely hated you guys, I'd be making videos. Okay, so I wouldn't look at the comments. I'd just be speaking into a cushion and not actually listening to anything outside of my peripheral. But it's a stream, obviously, so I can see you guys talking live. So if you have opinions or you have prices or whatever, just say it. I'd love to hear it. But anyway, so hello to Jason. Shout out to you being here. ATV, love you too. Appreciate you for being here as well. Thank you for joining the stream. But anyway, let me go on to this. So yeah, again, like I said, looking to where we are now, obviously to kind of wrap up my TED talk on the weekly Bitcoin. We have this 83.2, which we need to print on the weekly. This is our kind of support area. Now again, these two prints on the lower end, again, this doesn't necessarily, why don't we print there? Why didn't we find support there? This isn't support. This is us coming up, and then this is us coming down. So we haven't actually held once. We haven't ever held 83.2 as support. Now, obviously, again, nothing's ever perfect. Again, everything requires context, no matter what you're using, in my opinion, anyway. But regardless, we were using this very nicely. All these prints really nicely being used, especially this bounce. As we came up, came down, came up again. This 83.8k was really good for support. I will look at the chat in a minute because I do see you guys. I do see you guys saying stuff. But anyway, so like I said, we have used that outer rim very nice. Now again, my hope was, okay, if we can hold within the equilibrium, we can come back upwards again, and that would have been a really good thing. But again, we might not do that. Now again, obviously, this is like, guys, tune in next week for us to actually result in our movements. Because again, this is a weekly candle, and for me, it would have to be. We've printed, this was our moving downwards. We did print outside of the equilibrium, and now we're trying to get back above. So this is kind of one of those, obviously, we're trying to recover, but within this weekly, we can come down. So again, the resultant of this would have to be, we'd have to print above. But the most likelihood chances, and again, there's a lot of external things, I believe, as well, which are also quite negative on the charts. Like, I think Mike may have talked about it. I think there's something with Japan as well. I think there's quite a bit of negativity going on. So again, the weekly candle is made up of multiple days or 4-hour candles. So again, it depends how you look at it. But realistically, this would require us to look at the 4-hour and really look at how we're going to move on the lower time frames to orchestrate where the weekly candle is going to print. And again, I don't think the lower time frames are any more positive than we see here. So I do think if we do retrace on the lower time frames, again, that's going to mean retracing across the board, which means, again, the weekly candle is going to print below this. And then there you go, straight down. Well, maybe not straight down. Again, I'm not going to say that, but the next weekly support, because we've used this, we've been inside this, another low, 72.6 is one of my low points. Now, again, we do have higher points. Again, like I said, 78k, we do have different supports there, but that's my main thing on the weekly. That's why I really wanted to emphasize on this look at Bitcoin today, because this is, for me anyway, really important. But let me go back onto the 4-hour. Let me go back onto the lower range, and then we can look a bit more into what we're doing as of late. Because obviously that main area was the future of Bitcoin. This is kind of going to be what we're doing right now. But before I do that, I see some chats. So let me have a look. I agree 100%, Brogan, but not of the low 72k. Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, with these ranges, there's going to be multiple different areas. Again, because these aren't directly based off price action. This is more based off a pattern of numerical incremental decrements. So I'm going to have multiple different areas. I can extend these ranges all the way down. Obviously, 72k or whatever. I've just moved it. I hate doing that. I was like, well, I've got a high of 91k, but yeah, there's multiple different areas going up. So yes, I agree. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's on the weekly. Again, the 72k is a very low. 72.6 is a very low target. Again, we're at equilibrium right now. We've got a low at 78. We've got equilibrium at 75. It's just where is it going to actually hit and stop at? So I'm not saying 72k. Like I said, I'm not saying we're going straight down. Like I just on the weekly. I'm not saying we're going straight down, but on the weekly, But again, over the 6 days, there could be new things happening or whatever. And within this 6 day time frame until next Monday, obviously I'm not saying I'm gonna orchestrate my opinion solely on what happens next week, because again, I'm not saying that. But again, we do have 6 days of potential negative things happening where it could actually bring us all the way down easily. So anyway, new people are just coming from my school. New trying to yes. You know what? I actually heard about that, Kishan. That is a awesome thing to do. I do actually think that's really cool that you're doing this initiative for your school. So I appreciate you sending people over. Again, my charts, again, they're very complex. If it's someone who's looking at the chart for the first time, I understand it's very complex. But obviously, Mike's great for if someone wants to get into it really easily. Mine's a bit more, it's a bit crazier. But if someone can get any worth out of watching it, then obviously that's brilliant. Would it take you to flip bullish from KV? Well, like I said, I think for me personally, it is definitely that staying above this area on the 83, basically the equilibrium on the higher time frame, which was this value at I've moved it. Hold on, let me hide this one. It is basically this value at 83 too, because this is obviously we've bounced off it here. This is the outer equilibrium, and again, I'm not saying we've kept perfectly into it, but once we came back up into equilibrium, obviously this is a lower time frame resistance, obviously on the this one here, and then we came back to equilibrium, and then so this within this kind of establishment of, okay, we're in equilibrium now, we need to try get back above this area, and then we need to go up towards 93k. This was our low end. Okay, this was okay, cool, 83.2. We're in equilibrium now. Because again, I did talk about this. I think I talked about this at the time. I'm pretty sure. I normally do, which is when you come into equilibriums, you do have these chances where you can come up and then kind of do this, and then maybe come down to this support from the lower time frame, and then flip it. Again, this is just normal price action. You can have normal movements in equilibrium, but you do have to have a nice process if you do want to get up above equilibrium. A lot of time, if you wick right above equilibrium, even here perfectly, if you wick right above, you can come right back down. So it's very similar to the highs and low ends where, and this is kind of across the board. If you, this is my personal opinion anyway, where if you do see these kind of movements which are really rapid with massive candles, because again, this was during the process of I think quite big externality. So again, this does make sense that we're having these big movements. But again, it makes sense if you don't have that structure to your movement. And I think Mike talks about it as a ladder, which I think is a great analogy in terms of if you start trying to skip rings and you miss, and you miss all those rings you've just skipped, then you just come right back down to where you were. So I completely agree with that. I think you do need to have that nice process. You do need to have normal kind of market trend up to where you want to go to, or down where you want to go to. So, for me, again, that's the same for the equilibrium. So again, this is the lower end resistance. We established support within the equilibrium. Now we're going to try get above the midline, which is where we came to. And again, if we remember where we looked at on this lower end, we can see we had the fair value gap. We have this 4-hour. We have the support on the higher range as well, which we if we extend it across, we found twice. So again, I'm not saying this one down here we can't find support at again, but if I used it at this one and this one here, hold on. Oops, I've drawn that wrong. It needs to be there. There we go, and then there we go. You can see the midline was very nicely used twice here. So again, very nice here, and then obviously we came below it, and then this was basically the high end. So this isn't really obviously anything, but again, this is us establishing support. So within this range, obviously, yeah, this was the bull flag, bull pennant, whatever you want to call it. We had this kind of this movement. Yeah, you call it what you want. Which would have brought us, if it happened on the end, would have 91.5, whatever. Again, I didn't really look at it. For me, it's more so looking at the equilibrium and why we're bouncing. Because again, it's not just a magical line you're bouncing. You need to have reason in the market. The big companies don't just look at random lines and go, okay, this is our support, this is our resistance. Here we go. There has to be reason to it. Obviously, whether that be consistent price action or something a bit more fundamental or a bit more theoretical with patterns. Whatever it may be, you need to have reasons for your bounces. So for me, for it being just a random trend line, again, I think a lot of chart patterns, and again, this is my opinion, I think a lot of them obfuscate different processes in the market. So I think chart patterns can work to a certain extent. I don't think anything can't work. Again, if you have your own strategy and you're hearing me say, I hate this, I'd never say I hate anything. But if you start hearing me say, I don't like this, I don't really agree with this, again, it's opinion. This is, me. If you find your own method, or if you find your own way of thinking about the charts and looking at the charts, and it works for you, do not stop yourself, okay? Do not think any differently because I said something. But anyway, like I said, I think chart patterns, they obfuscate things which happen anyways in the market, and processes which make sense if you think about it logically, where you have, I think a lot of the chart patterns boil down to a sharp point of like here, for example, like a point where obviously this is a massive wick, but in normal patterns where you kind of have this and you kind of slow down and have this thing, it's kind of this kind of, I don't know what if there's an economical term for it, but these kind of logical processes of, okay, you're reaching this point in price where you're not moving, there needs to be a resolution to this lack of movement, because you're not going to stay for 2 weeks moving in this tiny range. You're going to have to break up or break down. So I understand chart patterns in the way that they kind of obfuscate certain ideas, whether it be logical or just theoretical, that can work. I'm yapping. I don't know why I'm yapping today, but anyway, I've even forgotten what I was talking about. I think I was support, and then this trend line, which was for me equilibrium, and then we slowed down here because we didn't have. Again, we had a fair value gap, I think, on the lower range here, which we came into. I think it was this one, and then we had this into support, which we came to the midpoint of. We tried to come up, but this was this bounce here, which we came up, bounced, and then we slowed down here, and then we came to this lower one, and then we didn't have it. But we came to this lower one because we didn't have anything below us, and then obviously we just slowed down. We didn't have this because this isn't like massive buy area. This is just a support area. This is going to be. Well, to be fair, wherever its support is, it's going to be a buy area. But you know what I mean. It's not like a imbalance or anything. It's more so of a fundamental price area. But anyway, so we had this support area. We came to it twice. We didn't have any momentum. Then we came down. So it does make sense. But again, for certain people who are banking on this, I know a lot of people saying we're going to go up. I think I said we were going to go up, but that was like 2 weeks ago when we were like just getting up into this equilibrium. So again, it's one of those processes. But I think a lot of people banked on the on this kind of bull flag or pennant, whatever it was exactly. I think it's pennant. I think obviously it hurt a lot of people because again, it's not something you can always bank on. But yeah, nothing's ever perfect. As long as you have valid risk management, I think a lot of things can work. But anyway, obviously then coming down. So yeah, I think I was answering the question of what could make me go bullish. And it would be this 83 270 print above. It would be us coming above these areas, because again, I mean, we have these gaps, remember, as well, which if you look at different time frames, we'll see different gap stats. But for me, again, like I said, my main area is within this higher end equilibrium. and that for me is going to be the lower end of 83,259, 83,270. This price, I read it $10 off, but it's 83,259 here. Again, we have bounce. I'm not saying on the 4-hour we can't print above it and use it as support and come upwards, but I just don't think it's, again, it's more of a weekly range, and on the weekly we have printed below it. So it's one of those things where I don't think the 4-hour can realistically print above it and we'll be fine. Because again, we are also coming lower and lower into this equilibrium. Again, we have had this massive candle upwards, but in this process, obviously, we came to this area on the higher end equilibrium, and then we came down again to this is the outer rim of the equilibrium. This is support. This is where we bounced off, and now we're coming up again. But this is a very massive candle upwards, which we're now trying to come upwards with. And then obviously we've already used this, so I don't know if we'll come up. We maybe could come up to the top end of it, and that's what I was saying earlier. Where obviously I'm not saying we're going to go immediately down right now. We'll probably have recovery, but I'm thinking more of the longer term period over this. And even if we do get up to here, we'll have to get above this price, which we've already seen this purple line bounce off. Which again, you can't see the purple line, but this is the extension line, as you can see with there, which obviously confirms you're in this range or this range down here. So even if we do get above these areas, we'll have to get above this area. I think there's quite a bit of resistance for us, especially on the 4-hour. If we go to the 1 hour, there might be some other things we can see. Wait for it to load as well. I'll read the chat in 2 seconds after I look at the 1 hour here. So you can see, obviously, we had these resistance areas as well, which also can kind of make sense of the equilibrium as well. So again, there's many ways of looking at the same thing. Obviously, this is quite a fundamental idea. But you can see we've bounced off equilibrium. Now we've started to do these displacement candles, which are very high. Very high candles. I believe it goes off volume. I might be wrong on that. It might go off just candle body to time, maybe time ratio, I believe. But basically, these are displacement candles. These are very big candles which move rapidly, if you will. But anyway, we have one below us. I think we'll hold. It's kind of like the idea of these imbalances where if you come into them, there might be still orders there. But again, it's there below us on breaker block. And to be fair, we are also at breaker block. There might be support below us, but I don't think so. Looking at what the price action is, I don't think we'll have any order blocks within this range anyway. But we are coming out, and again, like I said, we have come above equilibrium. If we look on the really low time frames, we might see this process here of this bounce, maybe on this one here, where we've come up above equilibrium. And now we're trying to bounce. I mean, we kind of wick to this area here. This is kind of a quite drastic wick. But trying to line up this, we kind of have a... Okay, here we go. This makes a bit more sense. This looks like a bounce in equilibrium. And now we're coming upwards again. So we kind of tried to come... We came up with equilibrium, bounced off equilibrium, now we're coming upwards again. So we kind of have this bounce. And so you can see we kind of used it for quite a while. Resistance, flipped it, support, came up. So again... 15-minute, on the lower time frames, doing well on that regard. And obviously, we're finding difficulty at this midline. This midline are very important as well. And then obviously you came up. So there's different areas. So we're having resistance here, but I don't think it's going to be anything too difficult. So I do think we might be able to go up a tiny bit more. But again, I'm really trying to give an overall opinion on Bitcoin, not only for the next few hours or whatever, but over the coming days. And I do not think it's that positive for me anyway. That we're going to come right back upwards. Again, I could be very wrong, but my opinion still stands that we need to hold this 83,270 mark, not only on the 4-hour, maybe coming into the daily as well could be a good thing, because again, the daily does look very, is a good time frame for this range as well. You can see nice usage, so maybe even over the daily. But anyway, we do technically have resistance here within this gap on these wicks, but we are coming up into it and then finding difficulty at it. So if we can print on the daily, we might also have a chance. This obviously, again, things which happen on lower time frame consistently cascade upwards. That's just how price works. So obviously, if you have multiple 5-minute candles, or three 5-minute candles, which all do the same thing, the 15-minute will start to do the same thing. And if you have 3 sets of 5-minute candles, or 3 sets of 3 5-minute candles, that'll obviously cascade upwards for the 15-minute. So if the daily consistently does this in this print, and if we can print up into here, come up into this gap again, come back down to support, and then have a nice process which cascades into the weekly or translates into the weekly, that would be good. But I don't know. I really don't think this will happen. This support was I believe it was the lower time frame equilibrium, again, like I said. And then obviously we're trying to come up again. It doesn't look good, in my opinion. It doesn't look good. Anyways, the chat. Let me scroll up a bit. I'm just going to make sure I'm at the latest. I see the liquidity above us, but 76k is yummier. KB, I do sense bullish. My students are asking questions in what's up. Is it a good time to make a dip in Bitcoin now? In terms of Bitcoin going down again, I assume that's what that means in terms of a dip in Bitcoin. Well, I mean, this is the thing. Again, obviously, not financial. If you have students and they're trying to not learn, but learn, but kind of understand. This is not fun. I'm not licensed to give financial advice, but I will give my opinion. Okay, I don't want to get in trouble here. Is it a good time to dump? Okay, well, what I'll say is, on my opinion and what I have in front of me, the daily, I think we have chance to come up into the midpoint in this area, maybe towards 84k. But I don't think we're gonna see up in what I have on the daily, and then going to the 4 hour. The 4 hour is pretty good. We are trying to come up again, but we're starting to kind of retrace a bit. And again, this is the 250 mark is consistent within between them. But I don't think we're gonna. I think we'll come down again, but we have used this as support. We have done well here, so we might come back down into 80.19. But for me, I don't think we'll hold up. I don't think we'll magically start to just pump all the way back up to 86k. I really don't think. Best case, I don't even think we'll get towards 85. I don't even know if we'll get to that resistance. Again, could be very wrong. But yes, I agree. I think for me, we have more chance of going down again. I think we'll find resistance within 83. Again, obviously on the daily we have this gap here. I think we'll see. Personally think we'll see more like downwards than we would see upwards, and this will probably come back up towards 81k. And again, this, if we do flip this equilibrium, my next stop would be 78k, which obviously we did use as support here before we wicked. But again, the wick was, to be fair, I think it's the lower range. I think it's 2 ranges down. You find the purple line wick. Let me see if this is correct. Okay, it's not being drawn because it's too low. I forgot about that. Let me get my own ones up then. I don't have my own ones drawn. This is perfect. Never mind. Ignore what I said because I can't do it. But whatever. Just minimize my chart. Whoops. Ignore that. I can't draw it because I don't have enough range to draw it on. But yeah, like I said, our low we saw in terms of prints were definitely this 78 whatever mark, and then obviously our wick was at 76k. There is a reason for 76k. I did have on my range, but I can't show it. I probably can show it, but it's going to require a lot of effort. And I've yapped about Bitcoin for a lot of time, and I do need to actually go on to Ethereum and Solana, to be fair. But yeah, I think it's a good time. I do personally think we have a bit of resistance above us to go down, personally. 75k body close, wick maybe 74k. I'll flip bullish then. Yeah. So is that in terms of if you reach these prices with that sort of process, you'll then go back to bullish? I could agree. I could definitely agree with that. Again, below us we do have this equilibrium, and again it does depend on what we do in our movement, because remembering as well, if I zoom out, we obviously have this wick which then came up again. We did have this process, but if we realistically look at our movement, again this was kind of a big fluke. Again, this was the Sunday Monday. I think there's a Trump thing happened where we pumped and dumped. So again, this I'm not surprised that there, but if we ignore the outlier, because again statistics, the basic statistics, there's always gonna be outliers. So if we kind of just shimmy them to the side, basically saying whatever mistakes we may have, just ignore them. In this process, if you have this kind of trend we have, that's kind of the basic process we've had, where this was the high, this was the low, which then got broken by this low at 76. So the two processes, if we really dumb it down, for me, or the two areas I have in terms of changing trend or on the daily anyway, on the higher time frame, or not higher time frame, but higher-ish time frame, in terms of which price we're going to see next, print below or print above. Is it going to be whatever, let's leave it at that. Is it going to be 92.8 or is it going to be 76.6? So looking at what we have, I don't know if we'll get to 92.8 before we see 96.6. So will that mean we do another lower low and then we come up again? That's for you to decide, to be fair, because again, this is not financial advice. But then what would that mean? That would be, maybe it might not necessarily be a print at 76, but at least a wick towards 75.5, towards this equilibrium. Maybe, I don't know if we'll have another print at 76, maybe towards Maybe I want to see if there's any because you can go, because the true range is 6561. I can go up or down one, and I want to see what we have. Oh yeah, here it is. I forgot about this range. Actually, the extension for this run. But to be fair though, and again, this was really good. This print at low, stop run to the extension. That should have been the whoopee do. We're doing this now. We're gonna pump. And you know what? To be fair, as we've done this, we've not done that badly. Now that I'm looking at it, so we've come back to fair value gap. We could pump towards. Okay, I'm not gonna change my opinion. I've already talked about my opinion for like 40 minutes now. But you know, this actually ain't that bad. Realistically, as I'm looking at it, this isn't actually that bad. You know, this was a good print. This to extension line for the lows back here, then coming up to equilibrium, obviously dumping it. I mean, to be fair, looking at our movement, it doesn't really. It makes sense. We realistically didn't hold the 76.8 or 86.8, sorry. Anyway, I'm ignoring that because you know I've given my opinion now. You know, it's a bit too late to. I've already talked 40 minutes about battles going down. This isn't that really that negative, but again, this isn't the range realistically we're using. It's 6561 or it's the 2 up, which is 59049, which I don't think we have. This one extrapolates it a bit more because of the equilibrium, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, like I said, so that would also, yeah, I would see about, you know, either definitely a wick below this, definitely maybe a wick towards 75.6 to 76, which is this equilibrium here, or maybe print at the outer rim equilibrium, wick towards 75.5, which I don't know what you said, but is basically what I've got. But yeah, that would be great support. But then that would be another low. I mean, again, it's really negative. We are doomed for now until Wednesday. Yeah, again, I think, like I said, I don't know the true. I don't know the exact external things happening which are bringing us down. I think something with Japan. I haven't read into it. I do look at charts majoritively, but yeah, if that, again, you can't ignore the fact that news can have an effect on price because again, people will react to that. But anyway, Liberation Day is the day he's introducing tariffs. Likely to be softer. Yeah, if we have something more positive than we think, again, it's always been positive. You know, I just said the most obvious thing ever, whatever. Whoever likes, push it, please make a difference. Exactly, there's tons of people watching this stream, and there's only 7 likes. Guys, come on. I mean, hopefully, it might be more likes. My streaming software might have not updated it, but anyway. I'm on a festival mood. Festival holidays in India. Shout out to you guys in India. Happy holidays. So, I guess, even in your holidays, I appreciate you guys being here on the stream. But anyway, I have talked to no end about Bitcoin. We've got 20 minutes left. I'll probably go a bit over if we do have interesting stuff to look at. But again, Bitcoin's the main chart, you know. Solana. Now, I haven't looked at. Oh, we didn't hit it. We didn't hit it because again, this was very similar to the what price did I have? I think it was 90,340 for Bitcoin. 90,340 for Bitcoin. We had obviously we had this price. This was equilibrium, I believe. Yep. This is equilibrium. I thought we were going to hit the outer rim of it and then come back down and then hit the 143 and then come upwards again. This was my process. Because again, during this period of time when we were looking back here, everything was looking good. You know, we had a lot of positivity. And I think I did talk about, I don't know what. It might have been this Monday stream or it might have been, it definitely wasn't the Friday stream because again, this was later. I talked about the idea of putting stop loss. Oh, I can't move it, but putting stop loss up into profit. But anyway, this is down here. But again, this is a price. So I would have put it probably at this end at 136. But anyway, that's my opinion. We didn't quite hit the top end of 150. We did hit equilibrium though. At least I suppose that is a good thing. But the main print was on this within our equilibrium. And again, the amount of time we've been sitting here is just ridiculous. You know, we really just haven't moved. You know, if I go to the low range though, I think we have some supports. What range is this? This is right, okay. Yeah, this isn't what we want. This is a higher range. Let me not use those because that's not really that important. Because again, there's different ranges. Let me use my actual drawn ones. Here we go. Yeah, this is the main one. So yeah, this is the equilibrium. So again, yeah, this is again Monday. When was Monday? So here, Monday we were here. Yeah. And then Monday. To be fair, the Monday was there, and then we had Friday here. Both this Monday and Friday, we were in this range. And then we had one amazing Monday where we weren't in this range. And now we're back on Monday and we're back in this range. So, I think with Solana, and again, I think not every single chart is the same. Again, not every chart is in the same situation. Again, everything is contextual. You can't use one chart and extrapolate that to every single chart in the entire crypto market. But again, to be fair though, if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin can orchestrate big price movements or kind of trend. But again, I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, look at the trend of Bitcoin and then figure that out. But if you go to Ethereum, look at the trend of that. Regardless of if it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, you'll probably see the trend across the board. If one thing's doing something and the whole market's doing something, it doesn't just mean Bitcoin's doing it, it means everything's doing it. So again, it doesn't really matter, whatever. I think Solana's case is a bit different because we have a double up support we're at. But to be fair, Bitcoin's slightly in a similar case. But the difference is with Bitcoin is on the higher range. We're not, printing below equilibrium. We are. Or in Solana's case, we're not printing below equilibrium, but in Bitcoin's case, we are below equilibrium. We have this chance to stay below equilibrium, which means we'll find a big resistance there. We'll come down to the next support point, which is about 76k or whatever. That's just the process of it, very bad. Anyway, back to here. We're both equilibrium on both regards, finding support. So again, I'm not as negative on Solana. But again, if things are really dumping, then things can go wrong and come down. So for me, that would be a 27 support, which is also here. We do have 108 for this support here. Obviously, I could probably bring it back to find support there. But we do have two lows. And again, this might actually be a translation of what's happened with Bitcoin, with Solana. We obviously had all these lows coming up. We had this low down. We had this low, and we have this low. If we come below both of these lows to 107, we might have a print there, wick to 105. That could be a really good thing to do, or a really cool thing to do in terms of massive price action back upwards. Because that was what was supposed to happen with Bitcoin. This is a very similar scenario, kinda. Where it's not like 2024 August is the low for Bitcoin, but in terms of having two lows, really massive lows, coming below them, coming to the extension line for the stop run, and then coming upwards again. That was supposed to be Bitcoin's reversal point, and Bitcoin's here we go to the moon. But obviously that hasn't happened. But anyway, yeah, so again, on pretty much every range, going upwards or downwards, we have equilibrium below us. We have massive support where we are. We have massive support where we are. So again, my outlook on Solana is a bit more positive, but again, I can be very wrong. I have been very wrong a lot of times. I'm not saying I'm some saint, but we can go below these equilibriums. I'm not saying we can't see lower than them, but even on 243, again, to be fair, even the support here is like $100, so that is technically a decent low. So, even seeing $113, these are pretty lower prices. But I don't know what we have on the 9. We don't have any translation on the 9 because it's too low. And this one, I don't really think this is very important because it's too high of a range. So pretty much every range we have support below us. Good for Solana, but again, not really amazing. I think the 27 is the actual range we're supposed to be using, so I'm going to be using it now. So we have support here. Let me go over to the 4 hour though, so we can actually see some price action. So yeah, we're kind of hovering a bit here. Obviously, this is main equilibrium within this range. Again, these are two lines which, if we were to translate this to these ranges, there would be a line in the middle, and then there would be these two lines, and then there would be the outer rim. So that's kind of what the translation is between these, because these are the ones I've drawn, these are the ones the indicator draws. It's just easier for me. I know it looks a bit different, that's what I'm trying to say. So we're just sitting at resistance at 127 at equilibrium. Again, not a price we have never seen before, but just a normal price action in between equilibrium on both regards. This is common to do. And again with Solana, I think obviously if we kind of translate this, this is kind of like the flip. How do you flip again? I forgot. Invert. No, I've clicked the wrong one. It's like a very similar process of. I hate when you do that. When you press space bar, that's a loud bag. If you press space bar, it just brings you to like the first chart. It's ridiculous. Yeah, if we look at the chart again, this is quite a common thing. We have this kind of thing going on here with this kind of. I'm not trying to draw it accurately because there's nothing to draw accurately, but call it a Bart Simpson. Call it a massive support resistance area. Call it a whatever you want to call it. It is quite a common thing to do. To have this and then come back. So what would that be for me? This candle. This is fair value gap area. This is the candle. So we're definitely going to have something in this area. Now let me draw it on my my nice purple. We do have a gap here. So this is about 134, which is also this low end. So I do think Solana can come back upwards, which might be very confusing for you because upwards is now downwards, but I will reverse it now, don't you worry. There you go. So yeah, I do think Solana can recover a bit more. I think it can come up. And again, so this is kind of, if we compare it with Bitcoin, this would be similar to coming up to 85k. But I think in Bitcoin's case, we do a bit more resistance. And Solana, I'm not saying we don't have resistance. We are currently sitting at resistance. If we go to a higher range, we have this resistance at 128. We do have different resistances. And obviously this is the same. So about 128 and where we are at 127. So we do have resistance. Not saying it's going to be an easy job. We might not do this. But again, looking at the price action, it is definitely different to Bitcoin's case. Bitcoin's case, we're in a nice downtrend. We've had a massive candle upwards. Solana's case, we're hovering in between these two equilibriums. I reckon we'll pump back upwards. Looking at this, we have not crossed this boundary once. I think we can probably bounce from this. And again, like I said, I think in Solana's case, we're a lot more positive in the potential because we're at equilibrium on every range. I do think we have strong support where we are about $120. I do think this is massively strong. So I do think we can come back upwards in terms of, coming to this 135-ish area and see resistance there. So obviously, again, not financial advice or anything like that. I do have 10 minutes left. So in terms of comparing, obviously, Bitcoin is in a scenario where we might see negativity, and I'm not the most positive on it. Again, shorter term, in terms of within a few hours, I can definitely see Bitcoin going up a tiny bit more. In terms of the longer term, on like daily or whatever, I am a lot more negative. But again, this is dependent. But if we look on the daily for Solana, how negative would I be? Let me shimmy this upwards, because you can go up and down. So if 27 is the range, you can go up and downwards a range. So I'm just going to use the 81 because it's a lot easier to look at. I'm going to hide this because it's really in the way. How do I do that? Do I have to go up here? So in this case, we had a nice uptrend. This is a lot more normal price action, though, to be fair, because this is if you just look at this is basically a bear flag, or whatever it's called. Kinda. I mean, obviously, it's a bit it's a bit rough to look at, but if we do the wicks here, there we go. You can see, we can see it. If you go from I don't know if you go. I haven't drawn a chart pattern in a while. I don't know if you have to go from the candlesticks, the candle bodies, whatever. This brings us towards this $108. I think is if you go 243, is just kind of sitting here. But I think it'll stop at 114. So, in theory, based on the chart pattern, it would be a movement downwards. But I'm not going to look at that because it's not what I do. So if we look at the normal process we've had, we've come into equilibrium, found massive support, had our nice process upwards. This is resistance, but we had a nice come upwards towards the 27 equilibrium, and now we've come down again to find resistance, and then we found support. But if we look at it, we found support higher up. So you find obviously we have had a process upwards, but if we kind of look at it, we've kind of done that. So it's not done badly. We haven't done a lower low. In Bitcoin's case, well, to be fair, on the higher time frame on the daily, we haven't done a low yet, I don't think, because I think the low is like all the way. Where was it again? Where was the low? What's the price point of it? Yeah, the lows. Actually, to be fair though, these are very similar charts. I didn't actually notice it. Oh, this would be a new low back towards these lows. So to be fair though, to be fair, these are actually very similar charts. I didn't actually notice this on the daily. I didn't actually look at it on the daily. But anyway, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, looking at the price action again, this in theory, if it is this kind of bear flag, whatever, then it suggest going down. But like I said, we're doing this kind of higher low here from this equilibrium. And again, this is why I think it's still different for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a very similar chart pattern, if you will. And yeah, for me anyway, it's us bouncing off equilibrium. But regardless, whatever way you look at it, it still results in a negative movement. But the difference is, for me, Bitcoin doesn't have that low support point at equilibrium. If we look at the daily, weekly range, we can see the next support point is 76k. Which is also that low point area there. Again, I already showed it. But with Solana's case, we have this massive equilibrium. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were to hold a bit more for Solana. And again, Solana is no stranger to moving differently than Bitcoin and Ethereum. And again, Ethereum is no different. In Bitcoin, Ethereum is no stranger to moving differently from Bitcoin and Solana. But if I was to notice, especially for a few weeks ago, whatever it was, there was a quite consistent amount of time where Solana was moving very differently than Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I wouldn't be surprised if we held a bit more support on Solana and we're a bit more positive, because we are realistically, at a really good support point for Solana. On every single range we have this equilibrium point at about $120-ish, wherever you want to look at it at. So I do think Solana has more of a chance to hold a bit more. I think maybe the movement for Bitcoin could be a bit faster, maybe in terms of it moving. I would want it to be faster. I wouldn't want a nice trend. I wouldn't want a bear trend down. I want a dump and then a pump back upwards, because I don't want to be down there, So, I think if it is this chart pan, if it is this whatever, it would dump. But again, like I said, talking about this on the fact that it's on the daily time frame, it's going to happen over a longer period of time. I think we can go upwards. And, on higher time frame analysis, there's more chance of it being invalidated on lower time frame trend changes and whatever. So, there is that to bear in mind. But again, this is on a higher time frame. This isn't going to happen right now, I don't think. I think we are going to go up a bit more. Solana's case, like I said, we have this bounce. I think we can go up back towards... I mean, to be fair, though, with this, we have this gap at 132, 133. Maybe we can wick up towards it. But again, this wouldn't be, looking at the higher time frame trend, the high is back up towards 147. And I don't think we're going to go there. So, like I said, I don't think we're going to go there. I think, to be fair, no, the trend isn't right, or the range isn't right. But like I said, I already looked at the lower time frame. I do think we can go up for Solana. I do think we'll see resistance at 132 area for this gap, and I do think we'll come down again. But I'm a lot more positive on Solana. And if we were to pump, but again, like I said, I've already talked about $150. I've talked about its midpoint $160, which is also this high point. So for me, the next stop would be this point here. For 160, but again, we have 149, $150. We do have these different resistance points, but like I said, I'm a bit more positive on Solana. I will go to Ethereum, but I will want to go to Bitcoin really quickly. I just saw Kishan talk about 79k enough to dump and pump. Let me have a look. This is the wrong chart. I don't like that chart because I've drew the wrong thing and I don't want to look at it anymore. But anyway, I don't want to do that. Is this range? Which range is this? I don't want this range. I do want this range. So let me get rid of these. I can't bother. Okay, so the question was 79k enough to dump and pump. So 79k would be... let's just draw 79k exactly. Pretty much. But can't I type in the price, can't I? There we go. So that's the price. Let me make it a bit smaller because I don't not like how thick this is. There we go. So that's 79k. So you can't drag it. Whatever. Okay, so there you go. So this. Okay, so is this low enough for a dump and a pump? Well, I've obviously shown my ranges quite a bit, and again, this is personal. This is very personal. So this isn't opinion. Oh no, sorry. This is opinion. This isn't. I'm not trained or anything. I'm not professional. But let's see. Let's investigate. Can we find a 79k resistance or support even? Well, we do have this support here, and again, this has been a support point previously. So yes, I've already got it. It doesn't matter anymore. Yes, we do have that there. Now, I do to point something out. I do want to go on to this range. If we were to look at 79k, because this is 79k, and then we have reason for this wick. So in terms of support, I could definitely see 79k. But if we look at the high time frame, which is the daily, weekly, the next support point, regardless of what you look at, is about 76k. If I was to show it quickly and go to the daily, if we don't hold this and we come down, we start again. There are periods where you find support, and again, I'm not saying this range perfect. I'm not saying anything. You know what? I want to look at this actually. I want to look at this. I want to see what this is. I want to see because this is technically right. I think. I don't know. There we go. Either way, it is this kind of midpoint for the liquidity void, but again, I prefer using this range because the equilibrium is the same, but it looks better. It looks a lot better. But anyway, the next point on this higher range equilibrium will be 72.6. Yeah, I thought that was 76. I must have misread that. But anyway, that's a high time frame thing. Anyway, whatever. But if we look at the trend, we are coming down. Again, this is a very higher time frame support point. But So yeah, 72.6 is, or 72.6 is this next stop on the weekly anyway, on this like daily, weekly high range. But anyways, going back to this anyway. On this range, we do have this support at 79. So yeah, there is potential for that to be support. But looking at this kind of process we've had downwards and going on the actual range we're using on Bitcoin, which is 6561, where we do have this support, we also have this equilibrium. And I could definitely see, instead of us bouncing within this 76.4 area down here, I think it could be a bit lower, back towards 76k, towards 75.5. So in terms of our low, because again, this was, even though our print low was 79k, our low was 76.7. I'm not saying we can't do, a really jaggedy, head and shoulder thing somewhere there, and then there, and then, there. Well, this doesn't matter, does it? The right shoulder doesn't matter, does it? You know what I'm saying? We've got this going on, whether this kind of trend over here, and then like, come up a bit, towards 78.4. We kind of got this going on, kind of thing going on here, big, pump, maybe bring that down a bit to one of these two, and then you kind of come up and you come down again to this head. We could have potential to, print at 79k for a head and shoulders thing, and then, come up again towards 91. So there is that, to be fair. I will say that. But if you were to just look at the trend line and look at trends, we haven't done a high above 93, so that means in this trend we could do a low below 76.6, which would be 75-ish K for me. But anyway, Ethereum, I've got 20 seconds to look at Ethereum. No, I'm gonna take my time on Ethereum. I don't know what match. I think it's this one. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, 729. I think it is the proper one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so 1844. A price we've not seen before. What do I have? Why is this? What have I drawn here? Oh, right, of course. I think this is a higher range rejection block. I think if we go to, I think it's 2187. I'll clearly have this drawn for a reason. I wouldn't draw something for no reason. It's not gonna be 243. I'm deleting this. I don't know why I've got it drawn. It's useless. This is not the right range. Anyway, let's go back to the true range. Okay. Anyway, like I said, it's not a equilibrium we haven't seen before. We've seen the outer rim of the. We've done a higher low, to be fair, on this kind of whip, boom, whip, type of thing going on. Very kind of similar scenario to Solana, where we're in this equilibrium, finding resistance at a top end, but we've found support. I don't know if we do have equilibrium at it as well, so we've got similar of Solana, not as many ranges, I don't think. We do have a few ranged equilibriums where we are now. So again, 1844 has been a really strong equilibrium. Now, also what I do want to unhide is this weekly breaker block, which we've had for oh so long, which we're starting to break out of, and we've started to use it as resistance. And again, not to be the negative Nancy, but I have looked at this breaker block. I looked at it probably 2 weeks ago, actually, when we started to kind of come up into it. And what I said was, I don't want to rock the boat or anything, but if we kind of come up into the midpoint and then come down, we can use it as resistance, because again, even though it is a support point, we have used it as multiple times as a support point. Its core, it is an order block which can get flipped. Even though in this partition, it's supposed to be a positive support point, we are no strangers using it as resistance. So not saying we can't use it as resistance here. But anyway, if I show a higher range, which I do want to do, I think the one up would be 6561. Oh no, that'd be two up. I don't want to do two up. I want to do one up of the range anyway, which would be here. Here we go. So we got fair value gap. We don't have anything there, actually, to be fair. But we do have support on this LV. I do want to see actually here, because we might have supports here. I don't know what that green candle means, I actually don't. But anyway, fair value gap wise, we do have a mini gap within this high into price. I can't remember what it's called. You know what? I should find the definition of this, because realistically it is something I'm supposed to look at. But anyway, we also have this mini gap, tiny gap within this candle, which also prints there. So I'm going to draw that to here, and I'm going to extend it to here as well. So basically, we've got this area down here as a support point. This is really low, though. This is, you know what? It's not that low. It's not that low. We're seeing at equilibrium. It's not like we can't flip it. I do think we have support here. So this is kind of the equative 78 support point for Bitcoin. Kinda. It's a close support point which we can use, for support. Again, we do have this low at 1.4. Again, this is really negative stuff here, and I don't want to be negative. But we have kind of started to flip this, because look, if we look at the actual movement, if we go to the daily anyway, we've come back into it, but we've come up, we tried to hold support and flipped it again. We've kind of had resistance, flipped it, tried to use support, resistance at this top end, tried to use support, failed, and now we've come below. Why is my face zoomed in? Oh, I hate when this happens. Let me fix this. This camera, right? If you do this or whatever, it zooms in. I'll look at the chat. Actually, I need to look at the chat in a second because I do see some chat. I will end the stream soon. Don't worry. I am going a bit over. I started 5 minutes late on the intro, so I'm 5 minutes over. So I'll probably be 10 minutes over. I'll probably spend an extra 5 minutes on this. Let me zoom myself out there because it's just is what it is. Whatever. My train view is broken clearly, so let me refresh it. I think I was on the daily. I think this is still drawing. So let's wait for it. So let's wait for this. Where's this green box come from? Oh. There we go. Okay. I don't know why that took so long. But anyway, what were we talking about? We were talking about... Yes, yes. We're talking about this. We're talking about this, found resistance coming down. And now we're starting to come down. We haven't done a lower low. And again, this is on the daily. So this is kind of the equal... This is actually quite low for Ethereum. Now, again, this is why I was saying, reiterating the point that Ethereum was a low coin. Because if we look comparatively, the 76.9 low on the daily is, if you look, we have this super low trend upwards, moving downwards. Okay, this is what the price action has been so far. If we go back to Ethereum, super low, trend upwards, moving downwards. But this move down has been really low, and we can see we've actually come to this low really, really close. So this is why obviously I'm not as positive on Ethereum. This is why I'm a bit slightly negative, because we're actually. Also, I want to use a really nice word to say this. What's the word? It's like teeping. It's not teeping. We're close to the edge of failure. Well, I don't know. Whatever you want to say. We're really close to this daily low, or this daily time frame low, the lowest low we saw. If we look, what's the price difference between them? It's like it's not a lot really. It's 0.8%. Or I don't think it's different if it goes down, does it? I think it can be different. No, okay, good. 0.8% down. That's not a lot in the slightest. But to be fair, I don't know why I'm saying that, because we're here right now, which is 4.5%. So I'm wrong. To be fair, I don't know why I'm looking at that low, but we're 0.8% off the low. 4.5% down. Not crazy, not crazy hard. Because again, if we look at some of these really drastic movement down candles, and we look from the high to the low where we can potentially go, 7.8% move down. Even some of this closer candle, 6.2 from the high to the low of this one, 4.4. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that we can have a day where we come below this low, which is very bad. Because, again, this was the 3rd of March. Oh, no, it wasn't actually. Oh, this is the 3rd of March. So, let's be fair though. Oh, this is the trend upwards, wasn't it? So where's the high? So it was here, and then it was low, then it's here, then it's low, then it's here. And then it's low. And then it's up, low, up. So we have this uptrend, and now we've come back from the low. So this is obviously clearly isn't in the trend. So we're still in this downtrend if we look at the process. So if we look at this high, we look at the low, what are we closer to? What do we have more chance of surpassing? So for what I can kind of say from this is Ethereum seems to be the crystal ball of what the market could potentially do, which is this potential process where we have this surpass of the daily low, and then we've surpassed the daily low, which means obviously we've come down, come up, we've come down below slow, which means, guess what, we'll come up again, but it doesn't necessarily mean we'll come above set 2,100. It might mean we come lower and we come back towards 1,600, whatever. But yeah, we were really close to this low. We are still within the potential of being at this low. I have this drawn, which is what? Something, clearly. Find resistance. We're not in a good scenario for Ethereum. The low here, you know, is the outer rim of the equilibrium. We can wick out of it and come to 1713 maybe. So we really do want to be careful with Ethereum. I'm really not happy about what we're doing with Ethereum right now. I'm not saying we're coming down right now, but looking at what we have above us, we're at equilibrium. We've got this we've got, I think, a daily breaker block here, which I think might be negative. Yeah, we've got a negative breaker block. We've got this inter price. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go find the name of it right now in my little PDF. What's the name of this? It bugs me every time I look at it, because I have seen them being used many a time, but I just can't remember the name of or what it stands for. I just never remember it. Okay, let me go find it. Where is it? Ah, here it is. No, it's not. There it is. All right, yeah, it's a hidden price. Basically, it's hidden price point objective. So basically, it's intertwined between two wicks, and they are just good resistance areas. So we've got this breaker block, which is negative, which we did use support, which is a good thing, or it's a bad thing actually, because we've got this positive order block in breaker block area, which we've used as support. We've come up, and now we've flipped it. So we're going to use it resistance. So we've got resistance at 1888. We've got this big old hippo thing, which is inter price, you know. What was it? I just looked at the name of it. Hidden interbank price point objective. Hidden interbank price point objective of resistance, which has a midpoint teeping, or whatever you want to say, within the 1888. I think that's going to be big resistance. So even if we do get above equilibrium, we've got, what do we have? Let's line it up. We've got outer equilibrium. We've got midpoint of this order block, potential of the low of the order block. We've also got the this price point objective, which is also within roughly the middle. So we've got three reasons why we're going to bounce off 1888. That, in my opinion, is no bueno, not a good thing. So I really don't think Ethereum's in a good scenario, even if we do go up. So similar with Bitcoin, similar with Solana, like I said, what I was saying was, even on lower time frames, if we do go up, I still think over the grander scheme of things, I still think we're going to go down. Anyway, I have gone over 10 minutes, actually. I've gone over 10 minutes, so that's basically what I said. So I'm going to do the outro now. I'm going to look at the comments, though, because I do see people talking. Give a like my team. Appreciate you bringing along, you know, your students to see the stream. I do appreciate each and every one of being here. Hopefully, so I don't know what question I should ask. You don't have to ask a question, don't worry. If the question should, you don't have to ask a question. Again, you can sit here. I know there are quite a few people who come here, and then when they reach the end of the stream, the outro, they leave and they don't comment, which is perfectly fine. You don't have to ask questions. It's just, that's the reason why I do live streams, is people can talk if they want to and whatnot. But Christian, I do appreciate you and obviously the students for being here. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is opinion. Do not take this as setting stone. What I can do, Kishan, is I can send you the PDF which I get the ranges from, because, you know, if you want, if the people in the stream watch it today and go, these ranges look really interesting, they can read the PDF themselves, by the guy who made them. I can't remember his exact name, but again, the PDF I will send is a new version of the PDF. I haven't read it the whole way through, but it has a lot more information than the original PDF. So if any of you in the chat actually has the PDF I've sent you, it was quite a while ago, and you do occasionally read it, and you know you want to read the new one, I can send it you, because it's got a lot more in it. It has some trading strategies in it as well. So if you do want me to send it you, more than happy. So occasionally I can send you that as well. If you do want to send it to people in the stream, the students, if the people who are here do want to look at it, I'll send it. But anyway, like I said, I'm not the craziest positive person right now in the market. Obviously, I've given, hopefully, a valid reason for that. But anyway, I do appreciate each and every one of you for being here and joining the stream. I will send that PDF over if you do want to look at it. If I go through it, it's got I could probably bring it up on the stream quickly. So if any of you familiar with ICT, this is kind of a thing. It kind of adds on to this. It's not fully ICT. I don't really use a lot of ICT, but Fair Value Gap, to be fair, is is named for him. If I go through this, you can see there's a bunch of different things. All this stuff you'll get to know, whatever. But at the end of it, you've got different plans of methods you could use to trade. And you've obviously got risk management stuff. You do have different methods of potential trading strategies. Again, I've not gone through the entire PDF. I have been going through it in my own pace to try and see if any of these are good or not, in terms of methods I want to use. But there's different things in this resource. It's like 200 pages or something, 190 pages. So I will send this over shortly. So anyway, thank you all of you for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you for being here. I will be back on, I don't know if we're doing a Wednesday stream, but I'll be back definitely on Friday. I'll be back during, obviously in the Telegram as well, if anyone has any questions, or wants me to talk or send charts or anything. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think I have anything else to say in terms of new things coming up, whatever. I think in terms of interesting streams of KB potential. Oh, actually, to be fair, we did talk about it. We might be trying to do a collab soon, or a trading stream collab with someone else to see if we can talk, whatever. Yeah, because you could print it. It's 190 pages. You might want to print it in black and white, to be fair, though, because it is a lot of printing. But you could print it. Obviously, if I send it to you, you can do what you want with it. But you can send it to everyone you can send it to all your students if you want. So they have it on hand, where on a device. But yeah, print it. More than happy. But like I said, I haven't gone through the entire thing. I have the original one I read for the ranges, which I have read through. And a lot of the stuff in this PDF isn't relatively new, but there are some things I haven't read, so I'm reading through those. But I think the ranges work pretty nicely. There are reasons for the majority of movements. Again, I like them. I enjoy using it. So again, it's opinion, but yeah, I'll send it over. So thank you all for being here. I'll see you Friday at least. I do want to do like a meme coin stream of KB as well, because I know you guys have really enjoyed the streams of KB. I believe KB enjoys the stream as well. So if he enjoys being on, then I'm more than happy to do more streams. And I think what I'll do, because we did a Bitcoin one before, we a bit of fun to do a meme coin one. But anyway, that was obviously in the future at some point. But regardless of that, thank you all for being here. Appreciate you all. See you guys on Telegram. See you guys Friday. Maybe see you Wednesday. I don't know. I'll see you guys Friday in the morning as well. Obviously, we do the morning stream as well. So anyway, thank you all. I'll see you next time. Kish, I'll see you in the PDF. And goodbye.